Good morning or good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are tuning into this video, and welcome back to another YouTube video. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining. My name is Georgia and I am a women's online health and fitness coach, and I specialise in helping you step into the most confident version of yourself across all areas of your life, both inside and out. And if you're coming back for another video, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys honestly so much. And when I started filming YouTube videos at the end of last year, so at the end of 2024, I thought it was something that I was going to find a little bit of a chore. I'll be completely honest with you, because I'm not someone who at the moment loves creating content, and I'm quite happy to say that out loud. But I've actually found that sitting down, chatting away to my camera, chatting to you guys, I'm actually really enjoying this. And I think as well, a lot of the content that I make now, excuse me, the way that I make content is actually going to be something that's so nice for me to look back on in 5 years time, 10 years time. I know that I talk a lot more about myself, my journey and my goals, and so that's going to be something that's going to be so cool to look back on in the future. So yeah, a bit of a random ramble about YouTube, but this is definitely still a new venture for me. But what I thought we would do today is have a little bit of a chatty catch up. I actually have my coffee. It is quite early this morning. If you don't have coconut milk in your coffee, you need to try it because it's honestly insane. And this is also a decaf, so I say I need a coffee, but it's more just to wake me up mentally more than anything else. So yeah, no caffeine here, but we're going to catch up on my 2025 goals and just how they're going. We're pretty much just over a month into 2025 now. So I obviously sat down at the end of last year / the beginning of January, if I can get my words out, with like my mentors and the coaches that I like work with, and set a lot of goals across all areas of my life: personal, business, fitness, everything. And what I then did was set a little bit of a January action plan. And obviously I have now done the same thing going into February. So I want to give you guys a little bit of an update of what my goals are and what I'm doing to make these achievable as possible, or as achievable as possible rather. And also what I'm doing to make sure that I stay on track to hit my goals without finding the process overwhelming, and without getting to the end of the year and going, oh, I never did that. So I've got my iPad with me, which has all of my goals written on it. We got the coffee, so let's jump into it. So before I get into this rather large document on my goals, one thing that has really helped me is having sort of like two separate pages. Like you could do this on the notes app on your phone, you could literally do it on a notebook, whatever is easier for you. The first one is like a summary of my goals, and then I have a second document, if I can find it, which is, I just call it weekly focus, which basically breaks my goals down into small weekly actions, and then I also break them down into like monthly actions. So it goes like overall goals, monthly actions, weekly actions, so it kind of like tapers down like that. I'm going to focus this video mainly on my health and fitness goals, and maybe some personal ones as well, because obviously that is more what this channel and what my account is all about, because this is what I help my clients with, and I'm sure you guys will probably find that A, the most interesting, and B, hopefully the most helpful as well. So let's have a little look at my document. I actually don't have a huge amount of personal goals this year, because one that I do have is quite big, and that's to move with my boyfriend. So that is the first personal goal that I do have. And then the second one is to visit one new country. I don't know what that country will be as yet. Last year I went to visit 2 new countries, but I didn't end up doing that. I visited one, but I went to that country twice. So I'm going to say that counts. So yeah, very small on the personal goal front. And then fitness wise, I literally want to be in the best shape that I have ever been this year. And by doing that, I'm actually shifting more of my focus onto how I perform. And I have 2 sort of like big performance goals. Number 1 is running a half marathon, which is happening in less than a month's time. Oh my God, it's happening this month. This month, I'm running a half marathon. Mad. And then the second is to compete in my first ever High Rocks, which is happening at the end of April. So they're my 2 sort of big like performance-based goals under my kind of like fitness goal bracket, if we can call it that. And then aside from that as well, recovery is a huge thing for me this year. So making sure that I get at least 8 hours sleep every single night. And also going back to dance was another big goal for this year too. And also just taking time for myself, so having a weekly solo date. So these are some of the kind of like lifestyle, like personal, like fitness goals that I have. So let's talk, I guess, how I then broke those down in the month of January. So obviously things like running a half marathon, doing a high rocks, visiting a new country, moving, like they're not going to happen in the space of like a month of you putting effort into those things. So what I then did was kind of zoom out and thought, okay, to get one step closer to those things, what can I do in the month of January? So let me go through my like January focus. So the first thing was to go all in on my half marathon training. If you have followed me for a while, if you've watched my other YouTube videos or you're on my Instagram, you will know that in December I ran 5k every day for 30 days to raise money for charity. So that sort of put half marathon training on a little bit of a back burner, and ordinarily, like if I wasn't doing that, I would have been intensively training and pushing up towards my half marathon. Obviously I was still running a lot, so it wasn't something that was a concern, but the biggest thing, the first thing on my list, so this is now my monthly list for January, was to actually begin structured half marathon training, and to do like a minimum of 2 runs per week. So again, setting a tangible goal. The second thing as well was to start introducing high rocks training. Again, because of everything that I was doing in December, the last thing, you know, my coaches and I decided was going to be the right thing to do would be to run 5k every single day, to introduce high rocks training, to continue strength training. It would have just completely burnt me out. So January was when that then started, and incorporating 1 high rock session per week was the goal for January, alongside obviously doing my regular strength training session and my runs. Now, luckily for me, I am very blessed to be able to work actually alongside 2 incredible coaches. One specialises more in the sort of like performance and high rock stuff, and one specialises more in the like hypertrophy training and like that kind of thing. So they have both been working like together on this. So luckily I don't have to do too much of the thinking when it comes to my own programming, and that's exactly why I have a coach or coaches, because I spend so much of my time thinking about my clients, planning for my clients, that quite often it's really easy to put yourself on the back burner. So even as a coach, I have a coach, and that is why. So luckily, with those 2, with the half marathon program and also with the high rocks program, I didn't really have to do a whole lot of thinking. However, I did have to make sure that I showed up and ticked the boxes. So next on the January list of goals was 8 hours sleep. So for this, it's really easy to tell yourself, I'm going to have 8 hours sleep, but how can you make that goal tangible? So I then zoomed out, looked at my day and thought, okay, when do I want to be getting up in the morning and when do I want to be going to bed in the evening, as kind of like a rough guideline. So here I popped down 7 a.m. daily alarms, and then 9 p.m. wind down time to make sure that I've got plenty of time to get those 8 hours sleep and make sure that I'm recovering sufficiently. The next thing was to start a dance class. So obviously going back to dance was one of my goals for the year, and I very much knew this was something I could start taking off from January and just throw myself straight into it. I was doing a heels class last year, but unfortunately that class stopped, and it was super local to me and just super easy. So the first thing that I needed to do was obviously find and research a class, which luckily I found quite easily. And yeah, I've been to class every single week apart from one where I couldn't get there because I had a call, and yeah, that is now part of my routine. So that was an easy one to tick off. And then the next one was my solo dates, and I wanted to start incorporating these on a weekly basis from January. So for this, it was setting a day, and for me, Wednesdays are a day that can be a little bit more flexible. So it was blocking out time in my calendar to get those solo dates in, and also as well, on the moving front, I actually had what I called a low spend January. So it was kind of fun thinking of like solo date ideas to do that wasn't taking myself out for lunch or going shopping, where I was adhering to my low spend Jan. So that was a challenge. Then moving on to more sort of like personal stuff on the subject of the low spend January, actually, I obviously set with like moving and the costs that obviously incur with that, I set a saving target for January, and I thought, actually, do you know what? January is the perfect time to just go all in. They were my sort of like monthly goals. And then what I have done from there is then broken those goals down into my weekly focus. So what I would recommend you guys doing, once you've got your big goals for the year, break them down into what you want to achieve this month and what can take you one step closer. And then from there, week to week, what are you going to focus on that's going to keep you pushing towards those? So for example, some things for me would be like making sure I'm booked into a dance class, making sure my Wednesday solo date is blocked out. And then on the more sort of like fitness side of things, making sure I'm a big advocate. And again, if you've watched my other videos, you would have heard me talk about this. I'm a massive advocate for time blocking and planning out when you're going to do your sessions ahead of time. So for me, I have trained a lot, like my training plan is a lot at the moment. So making sure that those sessions are planned in, so I know every single day what type of session I'm doing and when I'm doing it. So at the moment, just to give you an idea of my training split, I do 2 to 3 runs. Sometimes one is like a cross training session, so quite a long period of cardio on the bike, for example. So 3 sessions a week for my half marathon prep. I do 1 high rock session, and then I do another 1, 2, 3 resistance training sessions. And obviously I need to make sure I have a rest day amongst that as well. I obviously have a dance class in the mix too. So it's very important that I am organized and proactive about my training. So actually it'd be really interesting to scroll back to the beginning of my weekly focuses and go through these with you guys. So literally for the first week in January, exactly as I've just said, the first thing on my list is scheduling workouts, scheduling steps, and I've written and broken down like how many sessions I need to do. So 3 strength, 1 high rocks, 1 cross training, 2 runs. And I've literally gone and like ticked those off. And I am a very visual person, as you can probably tell from just the whole thing of this video, but honestly, writing things down makes your life so much easier. I often speak to clients and they're like, Georgia, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so stressed, I've got so much going on. And I'm like, when was the last time you wrote all of this down? And as soon as you write things down on paper, it just takes it out of your brain and it makes you feel so much calmer about everything, and you can feel so much more organized, and you can look at your week from a bird's eye view rather than frantically trying to organize things in your brain. I feel like I've been doing a lot of talking. I need some coffee. You know, you've been talking for too long when your coffee is basically becoming an iced coffee. So going back to my weekly focus as well, on this first week, I've also had a reminder of setting a daily alarm for 7 a.m. So adding that to repeat on my phone every single day, because before I just set my alarm the night before and I'd look at my schedule, and now I know I don't even need to think about that. Now, these might seem like little things, but these micro actions are the things that are going to get you closer to your goals without you feeling stressed, without you feeling overwhelmed, and it's just going to make it so much easier. One thing I will say about my weekly focus list is a lot of it is business related, so I won't bore you with going into all of that stuff, but even a few weeks into Jan, I wrote out like a weekly non-negotiables list on here, which is 7 a.m. wake up, 9 p.m. bed, you know, certain things I need to do with my emails, dance class, solo date, high rocks prep, low spend Jan, like all of those things. And it's just having that constant reminder. Like even my board up there, I write things on that board all the time. I stick post-it notes on it. Anything that is visually going to help remind you of your goals is going to be such a game changer. Now moving on to my focus for February and how my big goals are going to translate across this next month that we are currently in. So obviously the first goal is to run my half marathon, and that will be happening literally in, I think it'll be 2 weeks on Sunday when I'm filming this. So continuing with my training for that and making that a really big priority. My run's like my main focus of my training. Obviously I'm still going to continue to do my other sessions, like today for example I have a high rock session, which also has running in it as well, so that will all help. A lot of these are business related for February, but I also realized in January, because I was doing a low spend month, it made me a little bit of a hermit, and it meant that I worked a lot more than I would usually, which is not a bad thing, but I didn't prioritize having time off for myself. And a big thing that I have written sort of like mindset wise, if I look back to my like main goals, like a lot of it is just making time for myself, like having mental clarity, like having the freedom to take time off when I need it and when I want to. And I definitely didn't kind of like play in alignment with that in January, because I went full on hermit mode, and I'm the sort of person, I'm so passionate about my business and what I do, that when I am not going out, I'm like, well, I might as well work, because I could be doing XYZ to help more people basically. So I very much need to focus on setting more boundaries in February. So a big thing again that I've written in my February sort of like main goals is to have one full day off a week. I also have a lot of teaching cover work going on this month, and if you don't know, I do teach dance on the side pretty much every single weekend in February, apart from the weekend that I'm running my half marathon. I will be teaching, so I need to basically make sure that I am taking a day off, because it's very easy to not have that day off. So again, breaking that goal down of having one day off a week, it's blocking out time in my day so other things can't get booked in, or even just making time for like a half day here and there, just so I can make sure that I am rested, because I know that rest equals success, and that's something that my mindset coach tells me all the time. And yeah, blocking out time so other things can't creep into my diary, and just making sure I do take time to switch off, being really firm with my boundaries when I'm working versus when I'm not working. The other sort of more personal related goal is to have more fun. Again, I definitely think there's a correlation with my low spend January and hermit life, but again, making sure that I am showing up and going to dance every single week, and I'm not just saying, oh, I should be working, so I'm not going to go. Finding time to enjoy some downtime, enjoy some of like my hobbies, spending time with my boyfriend, like all of these things I definitely didn't focus on in January, I think because I was so all in on my training, on business, on everything like that. So February is very much a month of fun. And obviously now as we go through the month, I'll be going into my other document and giving my weekly focuses so I can keep on track to ticking off those goals. And what I always do at the end of every single week on a Friday, I'll come back to these main goals for the month and I'll reflect on like the progress that I'm making, how close I'm getting to those goals, whether I'm ticking off the things that I'm supposed to be ticking off, and then I will then set my new weekly focus from that, basically. So a little bit of a different video, and hopefully an insight into kind of like me as a person, a workaholic, but it's because I love my job and I'm very blessed to do the job that I do have, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But that doesn't mean that I don't struggle with making time for myself and doing those other things. So yeah, a little bit of an insight into me, my goals personally and in fitness as well, most importantly, and also just how I make these as achievable and realistic for myself as possible. So I'll probably do a few more updates throughout this year, because I think it will be nice as well for myself to reflect kind of on. Just finished recording and went to take my mic off, and I realised, I don't know if you guys can see this, my earring literally fell out halfway through that video. I have no idea when, so if you notice that, here it is. Honestly, never a dull moment. How I'm getting on progress-wise with my goals, how things have changed throughout the year, and obviously keep you guys in the loop as well. But if you've made it this far, thank you so much. I appreciate you, honestly, more than you will ever know. Thank you so much for getting to the end of this video. I hope you found this helpful and also interesting as well, and I will catch you guys in the next video.